Right, okay, so we're adding content to the website now. So we've created a sitemap. We know what sort of subjects we want to go after, what pages of content we're going to create. We talked about creating that content. We talked about checking if that content was ready to go on the website, and then we're going to literally then hands-on put some content on the website. So I've got my example bit of content here, and it was a self-employed mortgage with 1 year's accounts page that would kind of sit underneath a self-employed mortgages page. In fact, I'm going to get a test sitemap up here, and then we're going to assume that I've checked it, it's all okay, and then we're going to basically put it on our website and then talk about something called internal linking. So when we're kind of grouping pages together that are all about one subject. So I'm just going to get my Google Sheet with my master sitemap. Excellent. And then we're just going to share that over here. So if I've created a sitemap and I've done self-employed mortgages, and then I've got my example bit of content, which is mortgages 1 year accounts. Where are we? Mortgage 1 year accounts. I'll want it to be underneath that. If you ignore specialist, it would actually sit, all of this would sit over here. So it would be, you would have your home page, you'd have a self-employed mortgage page, and then you would have these, we call them child pages underneath. And I'm going to imagine this bit of content is a child page, so we can talk about linking those pages together. So when Google sees, it will kind of, its robots will come and look at our home page first, and then it will see that the self-employed mortgage page is quite important, and then it's got this group of pages underneath it that are all part of this. We call it a hub. So we're going to go through that. In fact, actually, I'm going to show you what good looks like in terms of this. So what we want to end up with, we've got like a bad credit hub here. So a bad credit mortgage top level page, and then we've got two child pages, and they all sort of link between each other. So the mortgage with defaults, we've linked in the main bit of content, the top of hub content, we've linked here when we talked about defaults to the default page, and we've also linked back from the default page back to the top page. So we basically want to have in our text, we want to have links between child pages and parent pages. And also what we normally do as well in our sidebar, have a specific sidebar for the hub as well. So you've got those links between them, each other. We're creating these relationships, as well as in the URL, the link at the top, you'll have the, if it's a child page, it will sit underneath the parent page. So if we go in here, I'm just in my test website, and we're going to imagine that I've created a self-employed mortgages page already, and then I've written my self-employed with 1 year account, so I want to add this to the website, and I want to fit it in the right place properly. So normally what I would do is clone pages just to make it easier, so it copies everything across, especially if they're in the same hub. So I've got this self-employed mortgage, now a draft page at the bottom. I'm just going to do a quick edit, and I'm going to call it mortgage with 1 year's account. So in fact, if we delete this, the keyword, the search term would actually be mortgage with 1 year accounts. When we did our keyword research earlier, this is something with high volume, low difficulty, and it's what I've decided to go after. Okay, so I'm going to put that as a title, mortgage with 1 year accounts, and then the parent is going to be the self-employed mortgage page, and I'm going to update that. So you've got parent page, where is it? Child page. Okay. So I'm just going to get rid of that example. So parent page, child page. You can see the little line there. It shows that it's a child of it. And then I'm going to assume we've done our checks with it as well, like we did last time. And we're actually going to add the content now. So we're going to go edit with Elementor to actually add our content to the page. I think earlier I showed you I was putting the content in there to check. I'm actually going to put it in here properly. So because I did a clone of the self-employed page, it's brought that content across. So we just want to get, the first thing we want to do is just get rid of that. So I've just done, I use a Mac, Command A and delete. Okay, so we want to start here. So our title should be automatically in there already. Your template of your page will reference the title, what you call that page back in the back end. So if we just go back one step, hopefully this won't break. Because it's called Mortgage with 1 Year Accounts and the page title is Mortgage with 1 Year's Accounts there, it automatically pulls that through, and that should all, and just double check, and that should all be set as a H1, and that's called a heading 1. You only want one H1 on a page, one heading 1, and that's like your title. So if we go back here, we should have a little text box, and then we can start adding the rest of our content. So we could put it all in one go in here. Copy that. Right, one thing you've got to remember, when you're copy and pasting from whether it's a Word document or a Google Doc, is you'll have visual and text tabs here. So you always want to be working in text when you're pasting. If you paste in visual, I'll show you the problem. So I'm going to paste it into visual. If I go, and then great, it's put all my titles in and everything. But if I go to text, all this code here is the technical term, the jargon code, is called inline styling. Basically, it's a waste of code. It's not efficient. You want your code to be as efficient as possible. So you could do it that way and then delete all this nonsense here. You don't want this excess code in here. So you could go through and delete all of that to clean it up, or you could just copy into text and then put the right code in, which is my preferred method, but hey, whatever works for you, as long as the end result is right. So we want to match these titles with what we've put as our titles in here. So if you remember last time, we got, if we highlight that, that is a heading 2 and this is a heading 3. So when we put the code in, so in fact I'll just do this one rather than doing the whole page. So how do I prove my income with 1 year's account? So if we find that bit, all the others were H2. So how do I find? Oh, here it is. Yeah, how do I? So that is a H2. So maybe I'll put a little cheat sheet together for you. Basically, you put these crocodile brackets and H2, and you close it off, and that will give you a heading, and then it highlights that as a heading. So it does all the code and the styling and the colors for you based on your website template. Cool. So how do I prove my income with 1 year's accounts? Let's find. Have I done that? How do I put? Yeah. Okay. And then we had this was a H3. So you basically go through your content and make sure the titles are correct. So you might find it easier doing it the way I did earlier, where you paste it and then go and clean it up, or you go and you basically, if you've got 2 screens, this is a bit easier because you have one open on one screen and you can go through and then find the next title, etc. So I won't bore you by doing the whole bit of content, but that's what you essentially do. You go through your content in text and make sure the titles are correct and that they match what you put in your document. Because remember earlier, we checked our document that it was correct. So if you don't then match the code properly, then your audit that you did last week is irrelevant because you've not added it to the website in the right way. So go through and do all your titles and it will format it correctly. So I won't bother going through every single page, every single title and doing that. That's, you just go through that process. Cool. So we would have our content then on our page correctly, and then we can, if we're ready, we can publish that or save that. It depends on your compliance process. You may want to, you may need to save it as a draft or not, just depending, or you can get it live and then send a link, or we normally, compliance-wise, we normally get it signed off in the Google Doc. So when you got to last week's step, I would send a Google Doc to compliance to get it signed off, and then when you're adding it here, it means you can publish it live. It's already been checked. It just depends on your network. I think only Quilter won't. I think it is only Quilter. If you're in Quilter, they're the only ones that will not compliance check your document. You have to put it on the website. The reason we get it checked in your Google Doc is because if you're getting changes, that the hassle to then go in, it's easier to edit and get your Google Doc saved, compliance checked. You've got an email with a Google Doc compliance check than having to go and change your website around. Cool. So that's formatting your page. But then we also talked about interlinking pages. So it's normally easy to link back from your child page to your parent page because you normally mention that early on, and we have done here. So that's really easy for us to do. So I can go back, edit with Elementor. Also, by the way, guys, any questions as I'm going along, please feel free to just put them in the chat. I'm just going to see if we've got any so far. No, we're good. Okay, so I want to link back to my parent page because this is the child page, remember? So if I highlight my self-employed there, you can do this in visual or text, doesn't really matter. Insert link, self. In fact, actually, it is easier in text. I tell a lie. So if you go in text, find self-employed, the word self-employed, self-employed mortgage, create a link, and it will list the pages when you do it in text. So I want to find my self-employed mortgage page that I've already created, self-employed mortgages, add the link, and then update. You'll see it's put the code in there for you, that's fine. You can see it's highlighted there. And then we should have our link there. So our link now, that is hyperlinked once we update it. And then view the page. We've now got a link back to our parent page within the content as high up. So it's kind of creating that relationship between the two. And then you want to go back, because you've created a new child page, you want to go back to your parent page. And then where you've mentioned, normally you would reference, you would do kind of like, if you're doing a self-employed mortgage page, you'd probably mention a paragraph on 1 year accounts. And then you can then link to your page about 1 year accounts where there's much more detail. So you've kind of, if you imagine in your overall parent content, you've almost written a trailer for your film, which is the child page, which is where it obviously goes into in more depth, if that kind of makes sense. So same process again. So I would want to then, in my parent page, link back to my child page, wherever it is in the content. It's easier if we go in text, find the correct subheading. Okay, so what you could do, I mean, some people would put like a read more button in there. I can show you how to put buttons in if you like, but normally we do text on the mortgage with just 1 year's accounts history. So I'm trying to do two things at once. I can show you how to create buttons as well. We've got a video on that. You could do like a read more button underneath as well. So I'm going to link, and then my mortgage with 1 year accounts, add the link, same way like I did on the other one. What I do find is a little quirk with it's Elementor, the text editor that we use. Sometimes it bunches the text together. If you ever find that you miss your paragraph breaks, if you go to visual and press spacebar at the end, it always updates it. I don't know why, it's just a quirk, and then it gets rid of that space for you anyway. So if that happens again, I'll show you what I mean. So now we've got a link to our new child page, and we link from our child page back to our parent page. The only thing we're missing then is this useful links on the side is like a template. So we need to, if we haven't already, create a self-employed mortgages sidebar. So all of our self-employed mortgage pages, or whatever the category you're doing, all have the useful links that are relevant to them. So what we do is we come out of here. The only other thing to remember as well is that you've done, just double check that you've saved your, we talked last week about doing the Yoast meta description and the title. Just make sure you've either, if you haven't saved that, obviously put in what you put in from last week, or do that when you do your checks from last week. So you don't want to leave this stuff empty. So we talked through that last week. So if you don't remember, just check that last week's webinar. Okay, so we are looking at the sidebars. So if you go to underneath Elementor, there's templates and saved templates, and you will normally have a generic sidebar template already. You can't duplicate it, which is annoying, but you can export, and it downloads a little file for you, and then import, and then you've got the, oh, is that not? There it is. It's a .json file, open, import, and then that will essentially creates another sidebar for you. So if you look, the date is now. So I'm going to do a quick edit. I'm going to call that self-employed sidebar, self-employed sidebar, update. And then I'm going to edit with Elementor. And you'll see it will have the useful links that we saw on the other page. So the mortgage protection, buy-to-let, remortgage. But we want to make this for self-employed only. So I'm going to click on that edit button. If you ever get this thing grayed out on the left, again, it's just a little quirk. You just got to refresh. It's just not loaded properly. Yeah, so if I click on useful links, and I've got mortgages, protection, buy-to-let, and remortgage. So I'm actually going to make this the parent page. So self-employed mortgages, and that's our parent page. Now, someone's put in the link here and they've written it in. You should never do that. So if you delete that, you need to go to, so this will be the best way to explain this. You don't want to hard code your link in there. You want to use, because if you ever change the link, you want it to dynamically update. So if you go to dynamic tags on the right here, go to internal URL, click on that, content, and then find your self-employed mortgage page. And then if for whatever reason the link ever changes for that, it will update. So it's just good practice to do. And then we want to put our child pages in here. So it's, if we just duplicate that one by pressing that icon, and then we can have our mortgages with 1 year's accounts. And then again, click on there. It's a bit easier once you've done it properly. And then 1 year. 1 year accounts. And then you start building up your useful link sidebar that's specific for the category that you're writing about. So now that's done, we need to basically implement that on our pages. So if we go to exit, and then go back to pages, go back to our self-employed mortgages page, and then if you highlight that, click on the pencil, choose your template, choose self-employed sidebar, and then you can see our new sidebar is here. And you may want to, if you've got like messaging in here, you may want to think about, oh, how can I make this relevant for my audience if someone's self-employed? So you may want to, if you've got reasons to work with your business, you may want to make them specific for self-employed, because it's only going to be self-employed people reading this, because that should be why they're on that page. So I'm just having to do that again because this is grayed out. So I think because I'm live streaming, the internet doesn't work as well as it should do. So sometimes it causes a glitch. So it shouldn't really be like this for you. So I'm just going to do that again, and then update that. So if I go now to my self-employed mortgages page, and I do a refresh, I've now got my sidebar for it. And then I want to do the same for mortgages with 1 year accounts, so that we've got that sidebar. So the only thing you've got to be careful of is when you're right at the beginning, I said the best way to create a page was to clone a page. Always just double check what sidebar that page has got on it if you start creating these. So I'm just going to repeat that process. Is this making sense to everyone? I feel like this webinar is very techy and a bit full on. So if I've gone too quickly and you want me to, can you have 2 sidebars on the page? Yeah, you could do if you want. You could have as many templates as you want, Daryl. So I'm trying to think of an occasion where you would need that, but you can have whatever you want. If you want a template, well, I will. In fact, what I will do, Daryl, is show you something that I'm going to teach you in the next week, which is another style of template. We've got a raised hand, Emma Jane Brooke. Emma, can you are you all right to just pop your question? Right, okay. Oh, okay. No worries. Cool. I forgot where I was. I'm going to carry on. I'm going to show Daryl something in a second. Hopefully we've got time for it. Because there is... so again, now I've got my sidebar on both pages now. So I'm linking between the 2 pages in the text and in the sidebar. Okay. That's gone a bit funny. Just do a hard refresh. And that's better. Okay, so now if we look, we've got our self-employed mortgage page, which is our parent page. Obviously, I'll put dummy text in here because I didn't have time to write a load of content. And then I'm linking. There's this kind of now, Google can see when it comes to my self-employed mortgage page that there's this pages underneath, and I'm building up this group, this category. If you think about it as like a category in a shop, if it was like my self-employed mortgages was my red trainers category, I've now got a brand of red trainers underneath, and I'm building up this shop. Cool. Last thing you might want to do is you might want to put a drop down in your menu underneath self-employed mortgages. So if we just go and do that, really easy. So appearance, menus on the left, and then your new page will be the most recent. Just click add to menu, and then, oh no, that is incorrect. The mortgage with 1 year accounts is, sorry, the page we want to add. And then just pick that up, drag it and stick it underneath self-employed mortgages. So again, it's just showing that relationship that it's part of this hub. So, and then we go back to the site, do a hard refresh. And then you can see it's now underneath there on the menu as well. You don't necessarily have to, but it's good, if people are looking around your site. Excellent. So I had a question about 2 sidebars. I'm going to show you something else that we do. So I'm going to go back to this bad credit mortgage page, and I hope it's going to be on here. What we often do is we break up the text with what we call a CTA block, a call to action block. Because if you're writing a lot of content, especially on mobile, you're going to see text, and we like to break it up with, and we found these drive calls quite well. So embedding your Google reviews on again, and having this is like a template. So you can basically create, let's just see, I've only got 5 minutes, so I'll see if I can create another basic template. So if I go to save templates, if I go to add new section, I'm going to call it CTA block. You don't really need to use a template, but I'm going to use this basic one here. In fact, I wonder if we might be able to create a template potentially. Right, I've got the thing, I think this spinning round because of the internet, sorry, so I'm just going to try that again. Okay, so I'm going to create a row. I'm going to click on the buttons at the top there and give that a background color. So I've got background here, classic. Now if you click on this button here, it should have your brand colors already preset in there. If it hasn't, I'll do a tutorial on how to, in fact, we'll probably do a tutorial on your settings of colors and fonts and everything like that. So I'm going to use my secondary background color there. So I've got this block, and then I'm going to stick a heading in there saying speak to an expert, or it may be you guys might want to do something a bit more personal, because it is, a lot of you are, it's, you know, it might be speak to Daryl or speak to Emma or speak to Rachel or whatever. Okay, and then I might just want to click on there, put some text in here, speak, you know, give me a call, whatever, give me a call because I'm awesome. You wouldn't want to say that, but just for the example, I want to make that text white. So text color, I clicked on the color thing there, just make it white, and then I can centralize that. And then I might want to put something else underneath, but I'm going to leave it as that for now. What I might want to do is just click on these buttons here and advanced and put a little bit of padding in. If you use the percentage and just put like 2%, in fact that's too much, 1%, and it will give it a nice bit of spacing. I'm going to publish that and I'm going to have a look. Cool, so I'm going to go back to my self-employed mortgages 1 year accounts, and I might want to put that, say, in the middle here. So I'm going to go to edit with Elementor, and I'm going to click in the text. So I've got to refresh again. Got 2 minutes. How am I going to get this done in 2 minutes? Okay, click on the text, click on text, and wherever I want to break that text up, let's say here, I'm going to take that out, update, click on the button here, create a new text box underneath, in there, copy my text back in. Obviously it would all be formatted properly if you've done the page properly. Go back to the buttons up here, search for template here, and put it in between, and then select CTA in your CTA block, and then that will be put in the middle there. The reason I do that as a template is because if you have this CTA block on multiple pages and maybe you're running some ads to it and you find actually I tweak the text to it, or I put my photo in there, or something, you only need to do that once in your template to be able to help you get more leads. And that is kind of going back to Daryl's question. You can have 2 sidebars on the page. You can if you want, but you can have that's why you might want to use multiple different templates, if that makes sense. Cool, right, bang on half an hour this week. So that is it. So next week, what we will do is, now we've created the page, this specific page, we want to tell Google to come and have a look at this new page, and also just check that Google can access all the other pages. So we're going to be looking at something called Google Search Console, which will also has got some other stats in on how your website performs on Google. So it gives you stats of how visible your website is. So when you've created these pages, is it actually being seen? Is it getting clicks? And that's what Google Search Console does. So we'll probably bring Tom back on for that one, and we'll talk through that next week. So I will see you next week at 12:30. Cheers, guys. Thanks for joining me when it's so hot outside. Really appreciate it, and I will see you next time.